Hey there, folks. It's Eric from Support Adventure. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how to be a great remote boss or leader. So the thing that comes to mind most when I think about leadership remotely is something that I heard in a personal development seminar once with a guy named Dan Pena. We don't lack people to be led. We lack leaders to lead them. This means that in order for people to effectively work in an organization or any sort of endeavor, they need leadership and they need sort of clear, consistent guidelines and an example of how to behave. And remote work is no different from this. So I'm going to tell you how to be a great remote leader. And I have lots of experience in this. I've got a team of like 45 people around the world, and it's going really well. And it's not just because I put in the right structure. It's also because I put the right charisma into my leadership. I put the right human values into it and all of that stuff. So I would say number one, first and foremost, support your staff in their lifestyles. Because if they're working from home or if they're working on the road as a digital nomad, there's some lifestyle factors and you're going to be an integral part of their lifestyle. And you're going to be, for example, sharing accommodation with them and their family. The work that they're doing will be there and your company will be there in their home environment or on the road with them. So you need to show a certain amount of empathy and concern for that. You want to care about their personal lives, how's it going? How are the kids? How are the wife and all that stuff? And sort of understand where the barriers could be for them to do successful focus work from their home environment, not in a super judgmental or bossy way, but in a empathetic, humane way that you sort of understand where they are in their life, why they want a remote position, and how you can optimize that for them. So just thinking about the results from your side won't necessarily create the sort of bond that you need with your remote staff, in my opinion. So you should care about their personal lives. You should also set them up with the right equipment, or at least advise them on how to purchase the right equipment for themselves. Whether they're a freelancer or a full-time remote employee, you should insist that their work for your company is done with the right equipment. Now, number one, this thing right here. This is a Sennheiser headset set, and Sennheiser is a microphone company, and that's why you can hear me clearly right now. If I was using the laptop speaker, hold on, let me see if I can switch to that. So the question is, do you want your meetings to sound like this with a person that you're engaging remotely? Or do you want them to sound like this? I mean, it's a huge difference. So this is my built-in Lenovo ThinkPad microphone. And this is my Sennheiser microphone. So get them a USB headset or a Bluetooth wireless headset, but USB is better because it doesn't run out of batteries. And make sure there's a boom microphone that fits in front of their mouth. Alternately, lapel mics that clip on can be good if they want to talk and hear through a speaker, or there's desk mics they can use, but just the best is the USB headsets from Sennheiser. The Logitech ones are also pretty good. Also, they should have a good laptop with the proper amount of power and security, and sometimes companies will buy the remote employees laptops that work that are for work only because they want to install certain software on there to ensure the security and to add some accountability to it. I'm not so huge on the accountability part, but the security, absolutely. You can buy used ThinkPads in most countries for like $300 or $400 now, or even $200 in some countries, with at least 8 gigs of RAM, an i5 processor, and an SSD drive. So think about that. You might want to offer them a budget to purchase external monitors. We at Support Adventure don't do that because our company is based on having people being able to travel and work on the road and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a huge part of what we do because our staff are mobile. And you should make sure that they have the proper backup internet solution on their mobile phone with the SIM card. And even if you have to buy them Samsung Galaxy budget model for $180 or whatever it is, that has mobile tethering and good microphones, if they have to use it as a backup for Zoom calls or whatever like that, do it. Once they have the right equipment, then it's really going to be a lot easier for them to work with you online. And encourage them to have the right remote routine. Like if they constantly have people coming in and bothering them, like their children and stuff and wife all the time, you need to make it clear that you want them to have a remote routine that involves focus work where there's not family members wandering in and asking them stuff during meetings or when they're trying to focus on tasks or on the phone and with the clients and all that stuff. You need to make it clear that just because they're not in an office, they need to have the same level or greater level of focus. We actually believe at Support Adventure that remote work can give a greater amount of focus if the person can be left alone and not disrupted like they constantly can be in an open office plan. So we're very pro working remotely as sort of the best way to get focused work out of your employees. But you need to give them the right software to do their work remotely, for the right collaboration, the right sort of system to write down where they're working, the right sort of communication tools to talk to other staff members, the right analysis, whatever the trade you're in, you need to give them, the right tools. So industry standard stuff, best of class. You'll see that if you spend money on that stuff, people are going to be, more productive. And then once you have the right tools, you have to give them the right expectations. So by the right expectations, I mean, well, a list of things that they're being held accountable to. This could be things like what they're supposed to check in the morning, how often they're supposed to check their email, what they're supposed to do every day at the start and end of each day, how to communicate with other people. I'll get to that in a second. And how they are supposed to budget their time and track their time and all that stuff. So, I'll leave it for you to decide what to hold them accountable to, but make it clear on a sheet. So every time they're not doing those things, you just go back to the sheet. Don't put it in random emails at random times that end up, in random folders in their inbox. Make a well-indexed source of all the information and all of that they need to be held accountable to, and all of the sort of checklist and guidelines that they have to follow. You will not regret it if you take the time to do that. Also tell them how they can focus. So a lot of us do much better work if they can focus on one task at a time and then move on to the next one. And the modern way of people in companies sitting on Slack or Microsoft Teams the whole time, messaging each other, and every time someone sends a message, has a thought, it pops up a message on everybody's machine, that probably won't fly anymore. And to top it off, a lot of urgent messages that need to be viewed immediately can be missed because the signal to noise ratio just gets so bad that people just get used to ignoring the notifications or turn them off. And then when you need to reach someone, you can hardly do it. And so tell them how they can focus. Well, so it's basically, if you want to focus on something, put yourself on this mode in the chat and turn off notifications, and tell them which channels are mandatory to leave open, like the telephone line should only be used in an emergency to call them, and which ones they can shut off if they need to focus. And make a communication policy that details all of the ways that your staff is supposed to communicate with each other, and what's optional, what's mandatory. Emails should be mandatory, and what sort of email messages you should be sending and should be receiving. How to use chat, how to not use chat, how to book meetings, when to call, how to escalate urgent situations to the management and ownership of the company. And, just give them an urgent channel so that when something really important comes up, they know how to sound all the alarm bells. Don't do it on chat. Anyways, I've talked a lot more about this on my other videos, so check them out. And it's important to have regular meetings because meetings can act as a clearinghouse for the issues that you usually would send emails about, and it could act as a focus time where everybody's talking about the role and all of that stuff. So give them regular meetings, have weekly meetings for each department. I've talked about this in other videos as well. So have fun in the meetings as well. Don't always start with just like, hey, let's get down to business. Talk about how people are. At the beginning, I talked about having rapport and being interested in your staff. This is a good time to catch up with people and have some fun, tell some jokes, and just make a team spirit through sharing moments. Also, you should be flexible where needed with your remote staff. A lot of the time life happens when people are working from home. They have to go out, they have to pick up their kids from school at a certain time. Be flexible where possible and make it work for them and their lifestyles, and you will have a lot more loyalty with remote staff. And The last thing I'm going to mention is make sure that you listen to feedback about your remote working culture, what's working for which people and why, and constantly check in with people about how their position, how their lifestyle outside of work is complementing their work from home lifestyle or their remote working lifestyle. And if you do that, you'll be able to see where the sort of challenges are and make suggestions, adjustments, and sort of tweak these sorts of guidelines that hopefully you've written down to create the largest amount of benefit to the largest amount of your remote staff. So thanks a lot. My name is Eric, Support a Venture. If you want to talk more about remote working, you can book me for a call on our website or in the links below. And basically, yeah, you're going to be a great boss if you take these things on board. And let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you think that could help out with that. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Take care. Greetings from Thailand.